We ready?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a great week. Beautiful city of Tampa and Gasparilla Bowl and all the representatives do a phenomenal job hosting. Um, Nice to be somewhere in the 60 to 80 degree range. I know it's been cold back in Raleigh, and guys have done a good job. It's been fun. Not just preparing, for the game with this group of guys, but also the events that we've been able to go to. Feed the Tampa event was a really good opportunity. We packed over 17,000 pounds of food for their communities around here. Um, and then today we were at the Air Force Base, had an opportunity to mingle with a bunch of people here down at the Air Force Base, see their equipment, see their weapons, talk to guys on how they build all these ships and see our big players try to get into these cockpits on some of the helicopters was pretty comical. But the bowl season's it's a lot of fun, it's an opportunity for a life experience for these guys. And obviously you come down with the intent to enjoy that experience and prepare to win a football game. And so I'm glad we're getting towards the end of the week. It's been you can tell they're ready to transition into game day. Questions?
Noah Fleischman, you want to start us off?
Yeah, Dave, what's it like for you to see a guy like Brandon Cleveland get to end his college career in his hometown?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. His high school coach was at practice today. So, Brandon means a lot to a lot of people, and to have his mentor there today at practice. And I know he's given everybody restaurant tips on where to go eat here in town. And I'm happy for him. He spent a lot to our program, and I know he wants to finish on a strong suit here, playing in NFL stadium in his hometown.
All right, put your hands up or it'll be the shortest Zoom ever, Rob.
Yeah, Dave, when you played at Drake, I don't know what your bowl experience was. I'm sorry I don't have that handy, but do you use your life experience as a young man to sort of mold these experiences as a coach?
Maybe one of the greatest underdog wins of all time that no one knows about was when I was at Drake. We played in the Big Sombrero against South Florida when they were transitioning to FCS. So they had 63 players on scholarship. We had none. Jim Levitt was their head coach, and we came to Tampa and played in the Sombrero and upset South Florida as a non-scholarship football team. So, I'm pretty proud of that as a life experience. I was a young defensive coordinator. I was like 25 years old. And the first play of the game, I still remember it. One of the receivers ran by my corner like he was in cement boots. And I was like, oh man, this is going to be a long day. And I told the staff, we're going to blitz the rest of the game. It's our only chance. But we won. And so there's just an example. But yeah, I use all my experiences. I use my staff too. Like, we got a lot of years between us. Anytime you can get a nugget from a bowl game or a postseason game or a big game or a place game that you played in that area, you try to use everything you can to help these guys and to drum up some stories that have some relativity.
Noah again.
Yeah, coach, you're about to play a dual threat quarterback that can do it in the air and the ground. You obviously signed one. Last couple weeks ago, we didn't get to ask you about him. What was it like, adding, Keneal late to this class, and why'd you guys take two quarterbacks? I think it's the first time you've taken two quarterbacks at high school.
First of all, yeah, Memphis has a really good dual threat quarterback. He's their leading rusher, 9 touchdowns rushing, and uses his legs quite a bit. Some teams we play, it's more of a red zone, short yardage thing. They use this guy all over the field as a runner. And so, great challenge there for our defense. And we faced, quite a few of those types of players this year. As far as why we took two, you know, the numbers that you have in the quarterback room more than ever can change. We felt like Keneal was a guy that, has a lot of dual threat ability. We wanted to have, an opportunity to develop a couple guys and, between him and Jacob, felt like that opportunity existed. Jacob's a dual sport athlete as well. And so, there's always an opportunity, if he's playing baseball for us, maybe to be one short. Um, and the timing of it just made sense with where we're at in the program. And, when you have 85 scholarships, it's a little different than when you can go to 105 potentially with guys on aid to make your rooms a little bit bigger when necessary.
Chris?
Coach, I know that you guys are focused on winning this game, but I wanted to know, like, are there any ways you can take something from bowl games to help build on things for the upcoming season? Ways that you can help start development of guys that maybe didn't get as much playing time, things like that that you're looking forward to as you're heading into this game.
Well, every practice rep matters for these guys in their development. And so, being an early bowl game, we didn't get as many practices as we normally would. So it's a little bit different playing on the 19th versus the 29th or 27th, 28th in those windows. So, we maximized the time we had. I could tell you selfishly, I wish we had a lot more time, but you do get more reps. I mean, Adrian Farrow is a great example. I thought he really flashed in these last couple weeks of the season in practice. You can see his confidence is growing. His understanding of the scheme is getting better each week. And so the more you get practice time with players, the more opportunities you have to help them improve. And this is no different, and Adrian's a really good example of that. And it isn't a kind of a platform for you to go into off-season conversations, because 9 more practices and what did those mean? What did you learn? How can you grow? These are things we saw that we think that you can do better. And so, that's what this is all about. It's trying to help these guys become the best versions of themselves, and more opportunities on the field means more opportunities for conversation about that.
Noah Teague?
Coach, with a win, this would be your fifth time in the last 6 years winning 8 games or more. Could you speak to the consistency of this program, especially with all the roster turn in college football?
Well, I think it says a lot about our culture first. There's been a lot of coaching changes on my staff in these years that I've been here, but the consistency hasn't changed. And so it says a lot about the type of guys that we recruit. I think it says a lot about the development piece, which, Thunder and Justin Smith work hand in hand, doing such a great job developing our players. And, I heard this yesterday, like we're the only team in college football that's going to have played 9 teams with 8 or more wins. So the hardest schedule in the country basically is what we were up against this year. So an 8th win with that strength of schedule, with all the injuries and staff things we dealt with this year, would be a heck of a season. And that's what we're gunning for is, winning 4 of our last 5 games and having that momentum going into the offseason.
Rob?
Dave, you spoke to Memphis a little bit. If you don't mind, sir, just kind of give a little breakdown for those who haven't followed the Tigers. Skill set, are they type of team that can really give a threat to the major conference teams?
Yeah, I mean they were 8-1 at one point this season. If you look at them traditionally in the last 12 years, they've had 10 seasons where they've been in bowl games. They've had 4 10-plus win seasons, a couple conference championships. They've won 4 straight bowl games. So it's a program that knows how to win. They've done it with 3 different head coaches. It says a lot about their culture and their makeup. I know they're not down here with anything other than that thought of knocking off a Power 4 team and trying to win their 5th straight bowl game. So we know we're up against a very strong competitor. Those kids have been impressive at the events we've been at. Sometimes when you play a team where the head coach is gone, it gets a little loose. And it doesn't seem that way with them. They seem very locked in. And so, I know it's going to be a good football game.
Noah Fleischman?
Coach, we've talked a lot about Hayden Fordham and the way he's developed through the year, but he's been named to 2 different All-American teams this week. What is that like for you to see him come back from the injury, improve throughout the year and be rewarded with some big recognition there?
Well, I couldn't be happier for Caden. And it's what you hope for. He had all the aspirations kind of just dissipate when that injury happened in his head, like how am I going to reach my goals? How am I going to accomplish the things I came here to do? And to his credit, in our training room and our weight room, he did all the right things. and came back and had one hell of a season to remember, 152 tackles and all conference, second team All-American, third team All-American. And Caden's done everything he can do to make his last season memorable. I'm really happy for him, proud of him, obviously, but it's awesome when you have a guy that means so much to your team, your program, go through such a tough thing and come out of it on the other side the way he has.
Does anybody have anything else? Noah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just ask one more. You talk about Caden. Linebacker's obviously been a strength of this defense for a while under you. This year with Coach Elliott being his first year, what is it like for you to see him, able to keep that standard that room had under Coach Gibson?
He's done a great job, and so is Isaiah Moore. Those guys work hand in hand with our inside and outside linebackers. And, Kean Sloan got invited to the Senior Bowl last night. And so that's another one of our outside linebackers that's getting some notoriety. And DJ recruited Kean here. I think those guys work really well together. And there's a tradition in that room, as you mentioned. And, he goes back to obviously Isaiah and Drake Thomas is having a heck of a season in Seattle. Peyton Wilson's having a heck of a season with the Steelers. And so there's expectations for that room. We recruit players that understand what it means to be in there, and it's a privilege. And we're thankful that we've been able to continue to recruit guys that can play at that level. And the coaches have done a great job. DJ's really brought in, some different things for Caden, and I told Caden that when Coach Gibson left, I said, I know it's hard when your coach leaves that you've been with, just wait. You're going to learn a lot of new things that can help your game. And he's done that. He gave us the opportunity to bring in a new coach, and he's done everything he can to support that coach and learn from him, and he's flourishing because of it.
Any other questions?
All right. Thank you guys. Happy holidays.